Good evening and welcome to the Milford Exempted Village School District's Special Board of Education meeting for April 3rd of 2020. We're going to call this meeting to order with roll call, please.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mr. Miranda?
Here.
Mr. Yaki?
Here.
Mrs. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Ham?
Here, thank you. We need a motion to approve today's agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Chestnut?
Yes.
Mr. Miranda?
Yes.
Mr. Yaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Ham?
Yes, thank you. Item number one, Superintendent Nancy House.
President Ham, members of the board, item A is discussion and approval of a negotiated agreement between the Milford Education Association and the Milford Exempted Village School District.
Before we have a motion, I'm going to open this up for questions or concerns.
I can give you a little background on it. Just before we actually, just before we went down to, got closed by the governor, we were in process of negotiating with the teachers union. We were close to an agreement. Then we had the shutdown. During the shutdown, a day or two into it, we had met with the classified staff and came to an agreement with them. And then a day or two later, I believe we met with the teachers again and came to an agreement with them as far as with both of them language and percentage increases. What the proposal increase was a 3-year, continuing with a 3-year contract, which would be a 2.9% for next year, a 2.6, and then a 2.2% for both the teachers and certified and classified staff. And then obviously language changes that were also involved.
Thank you, Treasurer Rabe. Questions, concerns?
Chris, do we do the discussion before we have the motion or?
Yeah, I'm going to open the discussion up before there's a motion.
Okay. Well, I have something, I actually wrote it down to make sure I said it. I said what I wanted to say. So first, I would like to thank our teachers and our other staff members for all they are doing during this unprecedented time. I greatly value our teachers' commitment and dedication to their students in our district. They are showing incredible flexibility right now as they adjust to remote teaching, and they have kept a positive attitude through everything. When our administrators started negotiations earlier this year, as Mr. Rabe mentioned, the world looked very different than it does today. Overnight, we went from business as usual with an expanding economy to an uncertain time that is forcing families, businesses, and even school districts to make difficult financial decisions. Ohio recently crossed a sad milestone. More than 1 million people in the state have filed for unemployment claims. That doesn't even include the hundreds of thousands who have taken pay cuts, been forced to reduce their hours, or have taken lower paying jobs. As a school district, we face an unclear financial future. We rely on state funding for 1/3 of our revenue. The state is facing a $2 billion deficit for the fiscal year ending in June and is making cuts across every level of government to prepare for a larger deficit in the upcoming fiscal year. We would be prudent and fiscally responsible to expect our funding will be impacted by the state's deficit. In fact, a recent study from the Brookings Institute said that school districts should anticipate reduced state funding in the 2021 school year. I also recognize that many parents in our district are juggling serious financial and career challenges as they teach their children from home. And many of our friends and neighbors are finding themselves part of the 1 million out of work. This is a difficult and uncertain time for everyone because we currently have no idea how this pandemic will affect our financial forecast. I believe it would be imprudent to make a long-term commitment regarding an expenditure that accounts for such a large portion of the district's budget. I'm hopeful that we can reach a different agreement that is satisfactory to both sides and considers the unprecedented challenges we all face right now.
I'll make a statement, Chris. As I told you earlier today, I intend to vote yes on this, the proposal. I just wanted to make a statement about that. It's unfortunate that this crisis occurred just at the time that the multi-year contract that we had ended, and as we were in the process of negotiating a new 3-year contract. I understand that many are now unemployed and that the economy is struggling, but penalizing our employees is not really going to help those in need. In fact, employees spending money in our community may actually help to save some of our small businesses. I trust the judgment of our negotiating team in reaching an agreement with employees. I don't know what other competing districts are doing on this, but I do know that even if they gave nothing this year, that this agreement would still leave us behind the ones that we really compete with. And I'm concerned that we can't afford to fall farther behind and put us permanently at a disadvantage in hiring the people we need in the future.
I did not write something as formal as Andrea or Dave, but I have been reflecting on the impact that it has in our community. And when this all began, as Andrea mentioned, it was, business as usual. And so that's what the team negotiated. That is the time that the teams negotiated with. But since then, the world has just upended. I work for Children's Hospital, the biggest employer in the tri-state area. We beat Kroger, although they're hiring a ton of people now, so maybe not quite that much. But we were told this week to expect no merit increases, and that I don't think has ever happened. So I think there are businesses, organizations who are barely hanging on, don't know what they're going to do. And so I think that today is not the same time as it was 8 weeks ago when this was negotiated. So I think we need to reevaluate what that looks like. Additionally, Governor Cuomo out of New York even made comments that school funding is not a sure thing, and they will likely see cuts. DeWine has not mentioned any of that, but we don't know. He hasn't said either way. And so, while we have a very solid financial state at the time, we need to be cognizant of what the future looks like, and what impact that has. Oh, Dave, you're on mute. Hold on, let me unmute you. Oh, wait,
Again,
Dave.
I'm good. Stop.
Okay.
I guess I'm next, and I can only second what everybody else has said, with the risk of being redundant here. We are in very uncharted territory, and to make the long-term commitments that a 3-year contract would be, it is just, I just don't think in good conscience we can do that. I think we need to put on the brakes. We need to work our way through this. So that's pretty much where I am as well.
Okay, thanks, guys. In terms of me, I've said publicly and privately to many, I'm really, really proud of our administration, our teachers, our staff, our parents, our students for working through this process like they have. This is such an unusual time for everybody. And what I've seen is very courageous and very important that we've been able to somewhat seamlessly move into this real strange world that we're in, doing the best we can. And they're all working hard to do the best that they can under these circumstances. I do also agree that when this was negotiated, times were different. No one could have anticipated the extent that this crisis has had on all of us, our families. And we have so many unknowns that are still in front of us as we kind of walk through this thing together and figure out how we're going to handle this, whether or not we're even going to have students in buildings next year. It's still yet to be seen. And I also am very understanding of it beyond this agreement, that we also have to maintain competitiveness with our teachers and our staff, because we need to make sure we keep good people, we retain good people, and we're able to attract good people to our district. So those are sort of my thoughts in general. Understanding that if this were normal times, this is a normal contract, and this would be probably a lot easier decision. The fact that we did start negotiating a little bit earlier than usual this year, it just so happened that, you know, things seem to change quickly, again, for all of us. And so this isn't a normal time. And it's tough to take a look at this as a normal contract during this abnormal time. Any other concerns or questions? Any other statements? Okay, I'm going to open the floor for a motion then.
So move.
What's your motion?
The motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Dave is muted again.
There you go. Yes, second, please.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Chestnut,
If I say no, that means I want to go back to the bargaining table. Yes?
correct.
I don't.
Correct.
Okay, so no.
Mr. Miranda,
No.
Mr. Yaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Brady,
No.
Mr. Ham.
No. Item B. In my understanding, this is the approval of the negotiated agreement between Milford Classified Employees Association and the Milford Exempted Village School District,
That is correct.
attachment 2.
Yes.
Treasurer Rabe, is there anything that needs to be pointed out that's different from the other tentative agreement?
No, percentage increase wise was the exact same.
Okay.
In 3 years as well, correct?
Correct. Correct.
I will motion for a vote on this. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Motion to vote on the classified employee contract.
So the motion would be the approval of the negotiated agreement.
Okay, motion to approve the Milford Classified Employee Association contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Chestnut,
No.
Mr. Miranda,
No.
Mr. Yaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Brady,
No.
Mr. Ham.
No. Item 2, we need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Chestnut,
Yes.
Mr. Miranda,
Yes.
Mr. Yaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Brady,
Yes.
Mr. Ham.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.